Taxation and market channelization, a data-driven approach. To the stage is coming Maximilian Priem, manager of DIW Econ. I'm probably mispronouncing it.
It's perfect.
DIW?
DIW Econ.
Econ. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, DIW Econ, we are the consultant company of the German Institute for Economic Research, and it was very fitting that Joshua led into me, because we actually relied on his data when working on our research project here. Upfront notice, we used, he just presented the latest data from November 2025. We've done our research in late spring, early summer, so we have an older version of the H2 data. So if you see any differences in numbers, it's due to the fact that his data is just a little bit more recent. But we talked about this morning. Evidence-based policy recommendations are of utmost importance. And H2 Capital is providing such a database, which is pretty good. And they do not provide it just for Germany, but for several countries in the EU. And this is what we seized off. And we went into the question of whether or not the German exceptionalism in virtual slot taxation actually makes a difference by European comparison. And I would like to start here with what you see is the online share of GGR in the German gambling market. And obviously what first comes into view is the COVID-19 pandemic in 2022. The share of online gambling surged in that year. And the year afterwards, in 2021, the commencement of the German, or of the latest state treaty on gambling happened. And one would have expected that the share of online gambling afterwards would at least stagnate on the level of around 2021. There are different forces here influencing the share, of course, in 2022. There a lot of land-based gambling just wasn't possible. But the track that the share of online GGR took was, first of all, unexpected. And if we zoom into the virtual slot gambling sector in Germany, this becomes even more evident. You see here the GGR of the virtual slot gambling market, and it has been roughly constant over the years 2021 to 2024. But what has changed is the channelization rate. In 2021, the German state treaty came into force in the second half of the year, so the low channelization rate in 2021 is not of any surprise, and as expected, it went up in 2022 to 70%, what is quite moderate, and we could say even good if you want to. But then in 2023, we see a decrease in the channelization rate to 45%, and here for 2024, even lower, 35%, as the estimates of the H2 data suggested. So, what is happening here? In our research project, we followed or set up the hypothesis that the way virtual slots are taxed in Germany might be an important factor in the explanation for the decrease in the channelization rate. If we compare it to other European countries, Germany is the only country that actually taxes the gambling turnovers or the wagers or bets that anyone who plays immediately has to pay via 5.3% on the turnovers. In all other countries, we have the taxation of the gross gaming revenues, And what one can do, and what has been already done in the literature, and what we've also done for our project here is one can recalculate the gambling turnover tax to the gross gaming revenue tax. And although 5.3% doesn't sound as much, it is an effective gross gaming revenue tax of 52.5% here in Germany, which is by far the largest taxation compared to other European countries. So what do we think? Why does such a high taxation influence the channelization rate? Well, first of all, and we also heard it in the talk before, this large taxation, the taxation of turnovers leads to significantly lower RTP rates. They reduce the attractiveness of legal offerings in Germany. And from the perspective of the consumers, legal and illegal offerings are almost perfect substitutes. Players can easily shift their consumption abroad to avoid taxes, and it has been until recently that this involves really low costs. So it's easy to choose the illegal offers. Also, for a lot of players, the legal offers are often not directly distinguishable from illegal offers. Legal operators need to actively position themselves as legal alternatives in the market, which means for them also additional marketing costs next to the higher taxes that they have to pay. So it becomes really hard for them to operate vividly in the German market. If we look now into the data, and this is first just descriptives or correlations, as you see here, on the x-axis, on the horizontal axis, you see the gross gaming revenue tax in a particular country in 2023, and the channelization rate from the respective country. And you see with growing tax rate, we have lower channelization. This also becomes evident when we compare Germany over time to other European countries. And Mr. Quermann presented this chart before. Here in red, you can see that from the start of the legal virtual slots in Germany, the channelization rate, first of all, in the first year started quite low, then evolved in the first year up to 70%, just as the trend was in any other European market. And then afterwards, in the second year, in the third year, the channelization rate decreases significantly, whereas in all other European markets, the channelization rate more or less stagnated around their level that they reached in the second year. So these were just descriptors, and for us as economics researchers, descriptors are often not enough to actually satisfiably answer our research questions. So what we always like to do is we like to build models. So I hope I don't lose you here. I know a lot of lawyers are in the room, but first of all, on the slide back, we've seen correlation between countries and correlations between taxes and channelization rates. But one could easily argue, well, this is two different economic circumstances and so on. So we built a panel regression model based on 18 European countries in the time from 2010 to 2024, and we can control this correlation, for example, for GDP, for education, and other confounding factors that are well documented in the literature, and then come up with an average effect or an average relationship between taxation and the channelization rate. And what we find in our model is that in 1 percentage point increase in gross gaming revenue taxation leads to a decrease in channelization of 0.82%. And we can also use our results to discuss other possible levels of a more optimal tax rate, for example. You see here, based on our model, the estimation for Germany in 2023. Actually, our model estimates for 2023 a channelization rate of 60%. You see around the dark green line, the light green lines. They represent our statistical uncertainty. There's always uncertainty in statistics. But the actual channelization rate is even a little bit lower at around 50%. So our model is even produces even more conservative results as the real values tell us. But what we can also take away from here, that in our model, if we would have a gross gaming revenue tax of about 30%, we would reach a channelization rate of about 80%. And this are also already my main takeaways. So compared to other European countries, the German taxation level is remarkably high, and it leads to very low channelization rates with limited tax revenues. So from a tax revenue point of view, this is actually a nightmare. There's just money, money that the state could have collected that it's not going to the state. As I said, our main result basically is that 1 percentage point increase in gross gaming revenue tax is associated with an average of 0.82 percentage point decrease in channelization rate. And for Germany, this would mean that with a taxation rate of 80%, of 30%, we would have a channelization rate of about 30%. So this is a very macro approach. We use data that are averaged for countries, but in the end, this 0.82 percentage points, they don't sound like much. But behind these channelization rates, there are players, and there are individuals actually playing in Germany. And the current taxation limits the ability of legal operators to reach them via competitive RTP rates. So they are often confronted with attractive alternatives in other EU countries or even outside of the EU. And these alternatives, especially outside of the EU, typically do not follow the principles of the State Treaty of Gambling. So German citizens are operating outside of the control and the protection of the German state. And these aspects should be considered when discussing possible alternatives in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this interesting presentation about taxes and the effect of taxes on channelization. It's very important. We have not had any questions through Slido, but I assume that you will be around if any questions do pop up, and people can be in touch with you if they have any questions on your presentation.
Yes, there's also a longer version of this presentation that can
Please contact Maximilian directly. Thank you very much again. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.